Are recording. Good morning, everybody. It's great to have you all here. It's good to see everybody today. If you would please make sure that you are on mute, so take a minute to please do that. And it's really exciting to spend some time with you on a cold, rainy, wet, nasty January day. But it's good to have everybody else here. All right, there's my little reminder. We're ahead of topic now. We are recording the session. So you all, we were talking a little bit about snow, and I found this meme when I was on Google, and I just love it. And I will have to admit that just last week, I looked out on my deck, and there was probably about a quarter of an inch of snow, and I thought, I need to call Dr. Fox. I do not think I can make it in with a quarter of an inch of snow outside the back door. So we are like this in Tennessee. Us East Tennesseans are certainly like this. So to get us started, I want to know in the chat, and this is going to date some of you all, I want to know the largest snowfall you have seen in Tennessee. This is going to be really interesting. Dr. Washburn, if you can watch the chat for us, I want to know the largest snowfall you've seen in Tennessee, and it's going to tell some people's ages here, I think.
So I'm watching them come in, and I'm thinking about the largest snowfall that I have seen in Arkansas, and it was in the 1980s. I was a kid, so it seemed like it was like well over a foot, but we did some very unsafe sledding on car hoods behind four-wheelers. So I'm seeing a lot of 1993s come in.
There are 93s, and some of you all, before 93, was there not one in East Tennessee that was in the 80s? Something happened in 80 something that was a large snow. You all, I may be off, but for those of you that can remember the 80s.
Denise said this past week.
I will not admit if I remember the 80s or not, Chris.
I hear you. Lots of blizzard of 93. Wow.
Some said this past weekend.
Carrie, 83 sounds about right.
Tracy says 84.
84? I'm thinking it was 83 or 84.
Lacey Yelly said she was in kindergarten in 1993.
I read that and I thought, Lacey, you really are making my heart hurt today. I was a freshman in high school, so.
Yeah, I was somewhere around there.
Oh gosh. All right, it's good to see all of these rolling in. I do remember very well the blizzard of 93. I remember something that we got a large snow in 80 something. I'm gonna have to go back when I'm at mom and dad's and look in the photo album and see what year that was. So I don't know about you. I'm still hoping for a big snow this year. I would be okay with a foot or more. I want something catastrophic even. That would be kind of fun. Not catastrophic, but one where we lose power and it's all fun and that sort of thing. So thinking about that, as we wish and hope, we at least have the human development team here to cheer us on and help us to make sure we're in good mental health in case we do have a huge snowstorm. And so we're really excited to welcome them today. I know they've got some great activities, and I've already sent some resources your way from Tisha. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Dr. Devereaux, I believe I'm going to turn it over to you. You all let me know what you need from Dr. Washburn and I, and when you want to launch a poll and that sort of thing.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. And Katie, you may have it, but if you want to go ahead and share the PowerPoint. But good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. I'm probably, depending on how you have your screen set up right now, I might look larger than I was a second ago. And so you might see a little blemish on my chin. Just ignore that. I had a mishap this morning. So, but I've got a bunch of tissues over here with, blood on it. So fun, good times, right? So, well, I'm glad to see everybody. And we are here to talk about the state of the pandemic-related mental health, and talk about, and really sort of remind you guys, especially those of you who may be very new, some of the programming that we have in human development that is related to mental health and addressing those issues. But before we get started, we'd like to do some introductions. So I'm going to ask my team members just to say a quick hello and go around the horn. So my name is Matt Devereaux. I'm professor in human development, specialist, been here for a long time, and focus a lot on early childhood education and after school programming and different things like that. So Heather, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Sedges. I am an associate professor and lucky to work closely with Matt as a human development specialist. And I've been here about almost 8 years now. And my area of focus is really around relationships and mental health and community engagement. And right now, a large focus on farmer stress that you'll hear about later. So I'm going to toss it over to Katie.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie Conrad, and I am also a human development specialist. And my area is really focused on after-school programming, but especially in anything that's related to resiliency building for youth and children. And we do a big focus on mitigating ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences, through the integration of social emotional learning curriculum and mental health supports in school settings. So that's a big area that I'm passionate about, and also do a little bit with diversity, equity, inclusion. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tisha.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tisha Humphrey. I'm an extension specialist as well, and my focus is farmer stress. And I am very new, just started in this position about mid-year last year. So I'm excited to be able to provide some information on mental health during a pandemic, I should say. So nice to meet you, everyone.
But Tisha might be familiar to some of you because she was, what were you before, Tisha?
I was a program assistant in Blount County for TNCEP.
For how long?
10 years.
So she's certainly not new to extension. We're really happy that she came through Child and Family Studies, got her master's degree, and worked her way up. And over, I should say over across the bridge over here is what I really wanted to say. So we're happy to have her.
Thanks, Heather. Emily?
Good morning. I'm Emily Ellis. I have been working with the Human Development team for about a year now. I did my practicum with them last spring and graduated in May with my bachelor's in Child and Family Studies, and was lucky enough to be able to stay on with them and keep working with them. And I've focused a lot on the co-parenting program and a lot of after school stuff. And most recently, the Tight Together program. I guess my official title that we came up with is education coordinator, working on special projects. But really a lot of focus on after school most recently.
Excellent. Thanks, you guys. And so we'll just meander our way, get us started. And as you can see here, here's the agenda. I'm gonna turn it over here to Katie because she's gonna lead us through the beginning part of all of this. But we're going to do an incredible, exciting poll, and we're going to talk a little bit about pandemic impact on mental health, opportunities to address mental health, and also about future directions in human development. And we're going to be asking for your feedback there later on. So Katie, I think the next slide might be you.
Yes, thank you. And this is where I'm actually going to ask Chris if he would mind launching the poll. Oh, perfect. So we have a poll just one question that we want you to answer, and we want you to select as many of these items as you can. And so we would like to know, which of the following symptoms did you experience the most at the onset of the pandemic? So we want you to select your top 3. We're going to see these results kind of come in here. All right, I'm seeing a lot of stress. Oh, it looks like we've got anxiety that's outweighing stress at the onset of the pandemic. I noticed that nobody has selected none yet.
I was watching that one myself.
I added that one in at the last minute because I was like, this is assuming that everybody has had some sort of mental health related concern during the pandemic, but maybe there are those unicorns out there that had no impact.
It's a photo finish.
All right, looking like it's kind of calming down here. So it looks like about 62% of us have had stress, so that's more acute than anxiety. 61% have had anxiety, so that's our second top. And then our third would be uneasiness. I feel you on that one, kind of that uncertainty about where we're going and what the future looks like and how we're going to get there. And that can cause a lot of stress and anxiety. Following irritability and frustration, I'm sure with these, especially those of you who are parents, for example, having to quarantine in childcare centers or daycares or schools being shut down and then open back up in quarantines, be very frustrating. And then followed by depression and apathy or feeling checked out. So very interesting, kind of what I expected, that those first two being the top on our list of mental health concerns. I realize I didn't share that for you, but if you want to take a look at that. We wanted to focus our session today on mental health because the pandemic is not over, and it's causing a lot of continued stress and anxiety, and it's our new normal. And so we are positioned really well in family consumer sciences to provide some mental health programming in several areas. And we wanted to share what we have currently, as well as where we hope to go, you know, assuming that we can find funding, because there's a lot of funding coming out focusing on mental health. And it's a big area that's moving forward. So our next, I'm going to stop my share here and share a different screen, but I wanted to share with you all first, looking at what mental health looks like both pre-pandemic and now during the pandemic. So based on data, what we're seeing. For some of you, you may have seen that we came out with these county heat maps. Can you see these? Can you give me a thumbs up if you see? Okay, great. So we looked in several areas. We identified 6 areas. We've got crime and violence, life and death, youth in crisis. So this will be juvenile justice and involvement and intervention services, education, substance use, and then there's one on mental health. But areas in green are our counties where we're doing pretty well and we can keep moving. This is all based on federal and state county data. So it's a lot of different sources that we put together to identify where agents, based on the data that's coming through from various top sources, where we could target programming. So yellow would be areas where you're doing okay, but we could do more. And then green, and then red would be areas in which we needed more focused attention in these different areas. So if you have red, your county is showing that there needs to be more focused programming in areas that address this. What we found interesting that relates to mental health is as we scroll down, you'll see these last 2 areas, substance use. So this includes smoking, drug abuse, and alcohol abuse, substance abuse, areas of need. Central Tennessee, what's going on over there? We've got a big area of need for programming or intervention prevention programming focused in this area. And then wellness, our indicator of a wellness, which was both mental health indicators of anxiety, depression, and whatnot, and also physical inactivity. We're finding across the board that this area is of most concern where we can target programming. And this was done based on 2019 and 2018 data. This is pre-pandemic data that we put together. So one thing that we know is that mental health issues or a need for addressing mental health was present before the pandemic even started. I'll reshare and show you what the pandemic related data is showing. What's this? Can you see this? Tennessee heat maps link? Okay.
We can see that.
Okay, great. All right, so this is some data that just came through from the Annie E. Casey Foundation looking at mental health. We focused on anxiety and depression. So this first one is based on anxiety. So adults who felt nervous, anxious, or on edge for more than half of the days or nearly every day in the past week in the US. So the data was taken April 2020, October 2020, April 2021, and October 2021. And so we can kind of see over time since the start of the pandemic when they started taking data and continued on until October of last year, how anxiety symptoms have changed. And what I found pretty interesting is that at their peak, it seemed to peak in October, probably the realization that, hey, this is continuing on. And I'm sure I know that after Halloween of 2020, for example, when families got together and were participating in Halloween activities, there was a jump in quarantining and whatnot related to school. So I'm sure that that peak occurring then could have been related to that. The one thing to note here is those the line in blue are for adults who don't have children. So we find at their peak, for example, 50% of those without children indicated experiencing anxiety symptoms in October of 2020 versus those in orange are adults living with children in the household, and their rates were about 35%. I think I anticipated it would have been the opposite, just based on, but there seems to be something protective about having children in the household that may be attributing to this. Similarly, this is our looking at depression symptoms. So adults who felt down, depressed, or hopeless for more than half the days or nearly every day. And again, that line in blue are adults without children. The orange line are those that have children living in the household. And again, we're seeing in October of 2020, it peaked. So 37% approximately of those adults without children were experiencing depression symptoms versus 25% for those with children living in the household. We also pulled in some data related to pediatric mental health. And all this data comes from mental health medical claims, so insurance claims, because they didn't really have other data. So this is the data set that we've found. And just this is a lot here, but just a big takeaway here is that mental health concerns for ages 13 to 18 were up sizably during the pandemic. So the percent change from 2019 to 2020. So intentional self-harm was up by 334% higher in 2020 versus 2019. Substance use, an increase of 65%, overdoses, 19%. And then they also looked at what were the top mental health diagnoses that came through on insurance claim lines. So OCD, tic disorders, and the most common, generalized anxiety and major depression. Focus on a little bit more on those, but you can see that they peaked in March and April of 2020, that these would be when these were indicated. And so if you want access to this data, I'm happy to share it. But for time's sake, I'm going to kind of shift gears here because we want to talk about all of the different programs that we currently have, both professional development opportunities and some of our grant initiatives, and as well as the programs that we have online that are ready to roll, as well as some peer-reviewed publications. I'm going to turn it over now to Tisha as we begin talking, Tisha and Dr. Sedges, I'm not sure who's going first, as we talk about our Farmer Stress Initiative.
Well, hi there. Hi there. So one of the big initiatives we have, and we have the honor of serving as the Southern Region Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network. So that's FRSAN. We're working on the name of it. But since 2019, University of Tennessee has served as the, I'm sorry, since 2020 has served as the coordinator for 13 states, 2 territories. And can we go to the next slide just really quick, please? I just want you to see the region. So this Southern region, we oversee activities in all 15 of these places related to farmer stress. And in addition to that, what we are doing, next slide, please, as an overall network is coordinating our efforts across action teams. And these action teams are the same thing that we're going to be at the end of our work going to be producing resources for this. So we have a hotline that we're developing across the entire region that'll be working with other outside entities to create and coordinate. And it's much more than just a referral line. It's not that. It's where farmers and ranchers will be able to call in, share their story, and have an expert kind of disentangle all the different pieces of that puzzle to match them up with resources that'll be supportive to them and hopefully reduce their stress. Support groups or support networks. These are farmer to farmer, peer-to-peer based initiatives. We are currently working on a comprehensive website that'll house a huge resource database across the entire region, as well as a branding campaign, tons of training, not just for agents, but also for people like bankers and mental health professionals to understand rural issues and medical professionals to understand mental health issues, especially with farmers. We also have a number of people dedicated to conducting research that we will be turning right back around and feeding back into our program to make sure that we're responsive to what we're learning in real time. And while evaluation is in smaller font, it's actually the opposite. We're doing everything with evaluation at the forefront of our minds to make sure that we can explain what we're doing, but also really see the trends over time and how impactful we are. So this is a major initiative, as we saw in the previous slide. There's only 4 regions in the country, and it's a USDA funded grant. It'll go through the end of 2023, at which time we will probably be reapplying for it. Tisha, you want to go into just a quick go about how this work would affect Tennessee-based agents?
Sure. So in addition to the regional funding, the state departments of agriculture throughout the entire country also received some funding to kind of support this initiative. So in Tennessee, the Department of Agriculture was able to obtain that money. So now they are working with us at Extension to kind of amp up some mental health training. That's really going to be the focus in Tennessee. And that includes things like QPR, mental health first aid. So the initial kind of process in Tennessee will be to train agents across the state to provide those types of training, but also we're hoping to get them trained to be trainers. So that's really the start. We're hoping to do that within the next, we're planning to do that within the next year. And then that will just expand hopefully to those agents that are interested in obtaining those types of training. We'll be able to provide that across the state. So I will hand that back to you, Dr. Sedges.
And I'll toss it back over to our other teammates.
Yes. So before I get started, just timekeeping for our team that we have about 10 minutes left. So real brief, after school programming, I'm mostly bringing this up not to go into detail about the actual grant, but more to remind agents and for new agents to introduce you to the after school programming is a wonderful and pretty easy setting to deliver mental health education. We've been doing it with our after school programs for several years now. They are very open to it. In fact, a lot of, and I can provide you in your county if you need to know where our 21st century federally funded grants or lottery funded grants. These grants are all over the state. There's over 200 schools in the state that have these grants, and they are required, not required, but they get extra bonus points per se for providing mental health education in their programs, not just to their students, but to their teachers and to the families of those children. So I encourage you, this is a wonderful opportunity, and we'll get into this in just a second, some of the programs that we have and that are for youth and others, but it's a great opportunity for an FCS agent to go and educate the teachers who work in that program. They're required to get so many hours, just like childcare teachers are. And that's an adult audience for you that indirectly impacts youth. And it could be a great opportunity for SES and 4-H agents to work together. And, you know, after you teach the teachers, a 4-H agent could come in the next week and actually work with the kids and show those teachers what the program looks like live. So just wanted to throw that out as an example or a context where we sometimes, I think, forget about this particular audience. And all these places have funding, so they can help you with buying things and that sort of thing. So just wanted to throw that out. Okay. Is this me? Okay, sorry. So so I wanted to share real quick on the internal website. You know, we have, I'm going to stop sharing here. As you hear in just a sec, you know, we have a lot of named programs that focus on mental health education and other programs in human development. But in case, you know, we do have resources that aren't, they're not a named program, but they are resources that you may not know where to look. So real quickly, I'm just going to show you where these sorts of things are. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. And obviously we're under human development. And then over here on the left-hand side, you've got our different topic areas, and you're going to go under emotional wellness. And I want you to look at 3 different things. There's adverse childhood experiences, we've got mindfulness, and we've got mental health. These are the 3 areas that aren't really named programs, but they provide you lots of resources that you can incorporate in your programming related to mental health. So under adverse childhood experiences, this is, if you're a new agent or even a veteran agent and you haven't visited this section, I implore you that you come and do this before you do any other kind of human development type training. This is sort of the basics and the foundation now of anything coming out of human development. Adverse childhood experiences, as you'll learn from going through this research, through these resources, is really at the core of how we address issues with children and families. And I want to bring your attention to right here where under videos where it says building strong brains, recorded training 3 hours. I encourage you to take this training on your own time to get the basics of ACEs. So I'm just gonna, so I encourage you to come to this section and review that and review all that information before you are teaching human development content. Then under mindfulness, many of you have heard of mindfulness. In this section, we just have a lot of different resources related to mindfulness that you can incorporate in your different trainings. You could use all this information here to actually do a training on mindfulness alone. You can see the different programs here, curricula with mindfulness components that we have, and other resources. It goes on and on. So a lot of stuff there for you. And then finally, we have what I'll call our sort of our mental health leftovers. A lot of our programs, like we said, address mental health, but here are some additional resources for you that you can incorporate into your mental health education. And then one other area that's sort of a program, sort of isn't, is it's our program that focuses on disabilities. So that is not necessarily a named program, but there are some pieces in there as it relates to mental health. Anybody on my team have any other recommendations there?
Yeah, Matt, if you don't care to just highlight emotional wellness, that tab, and just scroll down to mental health there really quick, or on that tab there. And if you just scroll for 1 second, let's see here, resources and training. Oh, maybe you have, let's see here. So that bottom link right there in the resource training section, Tennessee 2021 to 2022 mental health and suicide prevention resource directory. This is for the entire state. I sent this out via email to everyone, but if you are working with people in your community and need resources, please use that to help guide them to appropriate places.
All right, I think it's back to me. Thank you all. We just, Dr. Deverett has highlighted a bunch of our programs, so I'm going to do this briefly because we only have a few minutes. But I did want to say that you received an email earlier, and I wrote this in the chat, but there are links directly to our internal resources. I know it can be kind of confusing to find where everything is sometimes. So we just directly linked it so you can easily find these, especially if you're new and not well acquainted with our internal resources for human development. But these are some specific programs. So Matt just highlighted, areas that would be good for professional development. So making sure that you're trained in ACEs, kind of the background science about early childhood adversity and how that can link to mental health complications and general health complications later on in life. That's a great place to start if you need professional development. And then all of the other areas that were just covered. So these are specific programs that you can, that grab and go, you can take out to your community, different audiences, and teach them about these different areas. So the ACEs curriculum, of course, the Building Strong Brains that comes from the Tennessee Department of Health and the Tennessee Coalition on Children and Youth, TCCY. The second program here is our Tie It Together program, Trauma Informed Education for Teaching Professionals. This is new, hot off the press. We just rolled this out in December. You receive 8 lesson plans, and you can teach this to a variety of teacher audiences. So childcare providers, for example. There's one on sensory play. There's a lesson on social emotional development and trauma-informed schools. Or there's also a school age lesson plan on mental health, teaching about mental health concerns in school, how do you address them? And there's also one on supportive relationships. So our Tie It Together program, if you go to development, Tie It Together, TIE is an acronym for Trauma-Informed Education. If you have any questions on that, that is new, so feel free to reach out to any of us. This third one here is iCare, Integrated Classroom Activities for Regulating Emotions, which is a not necessarily something for you to go out and teach, although you can. It's really for educators to teach, but it targets kindergarten through 2nd grade classrooms, and one that we in the future would love to develop for later in early grade bands or ages and stages in development. If the group is okay, I'm just going to briefly go over these last 3. BrainWise is a social emotional learning curriculum developed out of Colorado. It is evidence-based. I know some agents in 4-H and FCS use it. It's wonderful. And it goes for all ages, even adults. Relax is our anger management curriculum. Teaches about kind of those red flag warnings and triggers and how to better manage your anger. Would be good for court appointed, especially. And then we have a lot on mindfulness, both in some professional development. There's 2 long recorded webinars about what mindfulness is. And an update was made last April, I believe. So that's our second webinar. And then there's a lot of curriculum and recorded mindfulness practices that are available online in different areas. And I just highlighted to you the Matching Mind and Body Toolkit. These are both interdisciplinary. So Dr. Washburn and I put that together. And then second act, our human development lesson was on living in the now. These are publications that you receive. These are all, for the most part, minus 2 DPubs. These are all peer reviewed that address mental health. So I would encourage you all, you receive this in your email today, and that they're directly linked, so you can print them out. You can share them on social media, do what you want with them, but they are for professionals, for parents, for you all to pass out to your community. All right, I think Matt, are you handling this? I think we might be almost at the end of time, and you are muted.
Of course, I'm muted. It's like required. So this is just, we won't go into detail, but these are just some things that are coming down the pike. You heard Katie mention eye care. We plan to expand that to, it currently addresses kindergarten through 2nd grade. We plan to expand that to 3rd to 5th grade, and also to childcare providers. Our team definitely, as some of you agents know, really want to become more involved with diversity, equity, and inclusion, programming, and education. That's very dear to our team. And this is just something we continually look for. We would love to have a mental health specialist as part of our team, 100%, Dr. Fox. And so we are continually looking for funding for such a position. And one of these days we're going to get that. And you as an agent may be interested in that position. Who knows? I don't know why it says Farmer Stress Fab Future. I actually put that in. I actually put that in my notes as a joke, and that it's like somebody with a teleprompter. I'm reading exactly what's on the teleprompter. But
can I speak to that, Matthew?
Yeah.
That Fab Future. I just wanted to clarify. We call it Farmer Stress, and it is Farmer Stress, but it's actually, there's a focus on much broader than that. Those surrounding farmers, farm families, forester families that we're seeing in Tennessee as well. And this will all be the goal is to have this in one area. And so it will be, many of the resources will be based on, they'll be for rural areas as well. So there may be things as agents that you will want to utilize as we get those placed on the website and housed there. And we will market that to you all so that you're able to see what's available to utilize for your trainings as well. So I just want to make sure that you have a good understanding that yes, the focus is development for farmers, but it really is much broader than that. And I think it will be a good resource for you.
all right, great, thank you. And Chris, okay, great. So do you want to take just a couple minutes to ask you guys, number one, if you just have any general questions, but also, do you have any other needs that you think we need to address when it comes to this topic? So any questions out there from you guys?
Matt, I do have one question. When it comes to childcare trainings, I was contacted by someone with the state saying that they're no longer going to accept trainings unless they're registered and trained TN. So I didn't know if you all knew anything about that, but so they're not going to let me train anybody unless we're registered with them now.
I haven't heard that. Is that from a licensing counselor or something? That
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes that happens, Susan, and I can make a phone call, especially if they're a new licensing counselor. It happens a lot where there's always been a sort of an understanding between us and the Department of Human Services, who does all the licensing, that we have a sort of a blanket approval to teach some of the things that we teach. And so I have a contact that I can call to help try to remedy that.
Okay.
But lots of times we find that in a new licensing counselor who's gung ho and is like follows the rules to the T and doesn't
Not
understand.
new. So she said that the policy took place in November, but we can talk, we can chat over email. I just
Yeah.
whenever.
Okay. I'm not terribly concerned, but
Okay.
There's a question in the chat. Best curriculum to do one or a couple grab and go mental health or mindfulness in a middle school.
I'll take that one. So recently, one of the lessons out of Tie It Together, there was a mental health lesson that teaches a little bit, and while it targets school age, I think it would be appropriate for a middle school audience. And it teaches about mental health briefly, but it also features mindfulness. A couple, I think there's like 4 or 5 different mindfulness practices that you could practice with either with the students or teach teachers to practice with the students. So you could do either or. I think it's very easy to adapt. And then the Matching Mind and Body Toolkit, of course, there are several really easy practices that are mindfulness based or movement, and then some social emotional learning. There's a really fun SEL Jenga lesson that's a really fun game where you that I would suggest for a middle school audience. I think they would really like that. Anybody else on the team have suggestions?
I just would refer them back to some of those areas we were sharing earlier on the internal website and come through some of those activities. I have time for one more question if there is one. All right. Well, thanks, guys. We appreciate your time. And if you have questions later, you want to reach out to us via email, feel free, obviously, to do that. Chris?
Thank you so much, Human Development Team. This was a great presentation. You all give them a hand here on Zoom. I think they did a great job. All right, you hopefully are seeing my full screen again. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Fox. I believe she has a charge for us for 2022. And then after that, Dr. Washburn, I'll let you take it off and finish us out here.
Sounds good.
I just want to tell Lisa and Chris that I appreciate the opportunity to address you during this time. As we reflect on 2021, it's definitely been a year of changes, triumphs, and challenges, as you heard from the presentation today. And I'm so proud of the outstanding programming efforts that you've led. These efforts have ultimately made such a difference in the lives of countless Tennesseans. We know with at least a handful of people that it actually saved their lives. And so that's amazing. And I also appreciate your flexibility and just your positive attitude as you've faced some of the challenges that you've faced. I've enjoyed getting to know you, and as this has been my first not quite year. I've enjoyed getting to know you through over approximately 90 county and virtual visits. And I do want to thank you for embracing me as your new leader. Your support has been very valued, and your efforts to keep me in the loop, share history, help me understand the way things are in the culture, and just providing that honest feedback has been so critical. And it's helped me navigate the many aspects of my job as assistant dean. And please, the door is always open. As we face 2022, I just want to challenge you to be innovative, be responsive, be collaborative, and be nimble. I know that you can strive every day for excellence as we face increasingly complex challenges. And we're all here as a team. And so we have tremendous resources when we work together as a team. So let's make 2022 a year of excellence, partnership, visibility, and professionalism. And so thank you for everything that you've done. And I look to 2022 being a bright year that we can celebrate lots of accomplishments and impacts. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fox, for giving us a charge into 2022 as we think about what our important activities will be in the coming months. So next on our agenda, we have association news and updates. Does anyone have any association news or updates to share? I know we have NEA FCS, TEA FCS registration open for the April meeting.
Hey, this is Lamanda. I just wanted to say that we had a very productive awards working session yesterday. So thank you to everyone who came and participated. So we are working on boosting the Eastern Region's award submission for NEA FCS and TEA FCS. So this is my little PSA announcement here. So please submit awards so we can outshine the other regions. Sorry, Dr. Brookins.
Lamanda, what's that submission deadline?
The submission deadline is February 5th. And reach out if anyone has questions or anything like that while they're working on them.
Thanks for that reminder. Awards, they take a little bit of time to pull together, but it's so worth it to get that recognition for your teams. Other announcements?
Dr. Washburn, if we're opening it up to everybody, I just want to remind folks the consumer economics team is having a series of in-service trainings coming up in February. Hopefully everyone is signed up. We'll be talking about the changing financial landscape. It will include a guest speaker on cryptocurrency. We'll also be talking about housing trends, and then we'll do a 2021 year-end review. As much as we want to forget 2021, we're going to look at some of the major financial shocks and challenges and changes that happened in 2021. So hope that everyone will join us in your respective regions.
Thanks, Chris. Well, while we're waiting for others to chime in, I have an announcement too. We are really looking forward to the virtual Extension Health and Wellness Ambassador Training that starts February 1st. This is open statewide, and it will be through Zoom and using Google Classroom. So agents have received several emails about that. The original registration deadline was January 24th, and we've been asked to extend that through January 28th. So now there are a few extra days to get people signed up. And then after that date, that'll have to be a hard close so that we can send out information about accessing Google Classroom and Zoom to your participants. If you have any questions, please email me. And if you plan to have participants but haven't let me know yet, we are setting up an agent pre-training Zoom meeting. So please shoot me an email and just tell me that you're in. Any other announcements, questions?
I have an announcement if there aren't any questions.
Sure.
Okay. I just wanted to send out a reminder or speak a reminder to everyone about the Tennessee Food Waste Awareness Week statewide food drive. We've had quite a few offices sign up to participate currently, and we're really excited for that. But the Qualtrics form or Question Pro form is due on the 30th of this month. So there's still about 10 more days to figure out logistics if you or another organization in your county is interested in participating and registering as a drop-off location. But I'm always happy to help with any of those logistics or answer any questions. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Johnson. Anything else? Well, Dr. Sneed, it doesn't sound like we have any other announcements for our January FCS Connect. So we can look forward to February when the community health team will be presenting. So that's February 17th at the same time as today, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central. So we will see you then.
Thank you so much, Dr. Washburn. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to the Human Development team and to Dr. Fox as well. All of you did a great job presenting today. Look forward to seeing you in February.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.